Let me ask you, how many times have you felt the sting of an insult, a slight or a dismissive gesture? In those moments, did you react with anger or sadness, or did you remain calm and collected? Disrespect is a universal challenge that all of us face. It can shake your sense of self, push your emotions to the limit, and leave you feeling powerless. But what if I told you that the Stoics, the great philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, mastered a way of responding to disrespect that actually enhances your strength rather than diminishing it? Imagine being unshakable in the face of insults, unaffected by the negativity of others, and instead rising above every slight with wisdom and grace. In this video, we will explore 15 powerful Stoic lessons to help you not just manage, but master disrespect. You'll learn how to maintain your composure, uphold your values, and even transform conflict into personal growth. By the end, you will have practical tools grounded in Stoic philosophy that can make you emotionally resilient and unshakable in the face of disrespect. Stay with me until the end, and you'll discover how to use these ancient teachings to elevate your life today, just as the Stoics once did. Let's dive in. 1. Be the bigger person. When insulted or mistreated, the Stoics advise us to take a moment, to pause and reflect before responding. Why? Because our first reaction is often emotional, driven by pride, anger, or the desire for revenge. But how often does reacting with anger lead to a better outcome? Stoicism teaches that to lash out is to let someone else control your emotional state, and in doing so, you lower yourself to the level of the one who disrespects you. Think about it. What does it mean to be the bigger person? It's not about pretending to be above others in a condescending way, but rather, it's about maintaining your dignity, your virtue, and your principles. The Stoic Marcus Aurelius wrote, "To bear trials with a calm mind robs misfortune of its strength." When someone disrespects you, that is a trial of your character. Will you let that disrespect provoke you to lose your temper, or will you show the strength of character to rise above it? Imagine someone insults you, whether in person or online. Your first impulse might be to fire back, to defend your honor with an equally sharp retort. But ask yourself, does that response uphold your principles? Does it align with the person you truly want to be? What if, instead, you replied with calm assertiveness, setting clear boundaries, but without attacking in return? You could say something like, "Please don't speak to me that way," or even choose not to respond at all. Silence, after all, can sometimes be the most powerful answer. What about situations where disrespect persists? Do you keep engaging in conflict, or do you know when to walk away? The Stoic path suggests that sometimes the best course of action is to remove yourself from toxic situations, not with explosive anger or passive-aggressive behavior, but with integrity. Marcus Aurelius advises us to maintain your own principles and treat the other with dignity, even if they do not reciprocate. In doing so, you protect your inner peace and allow the other person's disrespect to lose its power over you. It's easy to see each act of disrespect as an affront to your ego. But what if you viewed it as an opportunity to grow? Each insult, each slight, can be a moment to test your resilience and patience. Stoicism teaches that these moments are opportunities to demonstrate virtues such as courage, understanding, and self-control. Will you rise to that challenge? Now, take a moment to reflect on how you've reacted to disrespect in the past. How might your response have been different if you'd approached the situation from a Stoic mindset? The next time someone insults you, try being the bigger person. Stay calm, uphold your principles, and lead by example. By doing so, not only do you diffuse the situation, but you also elevate your own character. And speaking of leading by example, remember, this is only the first of 15 powerful lessons from Stoicism that will help you navigate disrespect. Stay with me, and together we'll explore deeper insights that will help you gain mastery over these challenging situations. 2. Focus on what you can control. Have you ever found yourself replaying a disrespectful encounter in your mind, wishing you could change how the other person behaved? We've all been there. But here's the hard truth. No matter how much you dwell on the situation, you cannot control other people's actions. Trying to change others, whether it's their attitude, their opinions, or their behavior, will only lead to frustration. So, what can you control? According to Stoicism, the answer is simple: yourself. Epictetus, one of the most prominent Stoic philosophers, taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters. This is at the core of Stoic thought. Disrespect may come your way, but you have full control over how you choose to respond. Let me ask you, when someone insults you or dismisses your ideas, where do you place your energy? Do you try to change their perspective, or do you focus on maintaining your composure and dignity? Let's take a practical scenario. Imagine you're at work and a colleague speaks to you in a disrespectful tone. Your instinct might be to correct them, to make them see the wrongness of their behavior. But can you really control how they feel or act? What you can control is your response. Ask yourself, how can I handle this situation with integrity? What is the most dignified way to move forward? When we stop focusing on things outside our control, such as how others treat us, and start focusing on our own reactions, we reclaim our power. We stop being victims of circumstance and become the masters of our own emotional state. This shift in mindset is liberating. Instead of being caught up in the whirlwind of disrespect, you remain grounded in your principles. What happens when you focus only on what you can control? You become more centered, more composed, and more resilient. The disrespect of others no longer dictates your mood or your sense of self-worth. Instead, you rise above it, showing strength and wisdom in your actions. This is the essence of Stoicism, controlling your inner world even when the outer world is chaotic. Consider this the next time you feel disrespected. How much energy are you wasting trying to control the uncontrollable? Could you instead channel that energy into bettering yourself, into cultivating your own virtues? Reflect on how different your life would be if you stopped reacting to every insult and started responding with calmness and clarity. By focusing on what you can control, you not only navigate disrespect with grace, but you also set an example for others. Your strength in these moments becomes a guiding light for those around you. And speaking of setting examples, let's move on to another important principle of Stoicism: surrounding yourself with the right people. 3. Surround yourself with respectful, supportive people. Take a moment to think about the people in your life. Who do you spend the most time with? Are they individuals who lift you up, or do they bring you down with negativity and disrespect? The company we keep has a profound influence on how we think, feel, and act. This is why the Stoics were very clear about the importance of choosing the right companions. Surround yourself with those who uplift you, not those who drag you down, said Marcus Aurelius. The people around us affect our energy, our mindset, and even our values. Have you ever noticed how, after spending time with someone negative or disrespectful, your own mood shifts for the worse? That's because their negativity has seeped into your own thoughts. This is why it's crucial to consciously choose relationships that empower rather than diminish you. But how do you identify these people in your life? Start by asking yourself, Do certain individuals consistently act dismissively or demean you? Do they fail to appreciate your worth? And more importantly, how do you feel after spending time with them? If you leave interactions feeling drained, anxious, or disrespected, it may be time to limit your exposure to these individuals. Of course, sometimes it's not feasible to completely cut ties, especially with difficult family members or colleagues. In such cases, the Stoics recommend managing your exposure wisely. Minimize the time you spend with those who bring out the worst in you. Interact only briefly and under controlled conditions, where you can maintain your composure and emotional boundaries. Stoicism reminds us to protect our energy and keep our focus on what uplifts us. Now, let's not forget the other side of the coin. Are there people in your life who encourage your growth and resonate with your values? These are the relationships worth nurturing. When you surround yourself with respectful, supportive people, you create an environment that fosters personal growth and emotional stability. Good company uplifts your entire being, aligning you with your highest self. Remember, you teach others how to treat you by what you tolerate. By setting boundaries and surrounding yourself with those who respect your values, you send a powerful message about your worth. When you limit your exposure to negativity and seek out supportive, empowering relationships, life opens up in ways you may never have imagined. But as you reflect on your relationships, take a moment to consider this. How have the people you associate with influenced your mindset and actions? Are you allowing toxic individuals to drain your energy, or are you actively seeking out those who support your growth? And if this lesson resonates with you, I encourage you to stay with me, because we're only getting started. We've covered just a fraction of the wisdom Stoicism offers for handling disrespect. There's so much more to learn, and the insights that follow will deepen your understanding and ability to navigate difficult situations with calm and composure. 4. Remain calm and do not retaliate. When faced with disrespect, the immediate impulse for many of us is to retaliate, to strike back in some way, verbally, emotionally, or even physically. After all, disrespect can sting. But let me ask you this: has anger or retaliation ever brought you long-term satisfaction? Has it ever truly resolved the underlying issue? According to Stoicism, the answer is no. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, reminds us that the best revenge is to be unlike the wrongdoer. When someone disrespects you, retaliating in kind only escalates the situation and pulls you down to their level. Stoicism teaches that the key to handling disrespect lies in mastering our emotional responses, not in seeking vengeance. Think of it like this: when someone insults you, their words are meant to provoke a reaction. By remaining calm and refusing to retaliate, you not only disarm the person, but also maintain control over yourself. In that moment of calm, you show immense strength. It's not weakness to remain composed. On the contrary, it is a sign of deep inner power. Let's look at a scenario. Imagine someone insults you in a meeting or undermines your ideas in front of others. What's your first instinct? Is it to lash out, defend yourself, or prove them wrong? But ask yourself, will retaliation actually improve the situation? Will it enhance your reputation? Or will it simply drag you into a conflict that might damage your character? Instead, what if you paused, took a deep breath, and responded calmly? Or even better, what if you chose not to respond at all? This is where Stoicism shines. It teaches us to take that pause, to recognize the urge to retaliate as a fleeting emotion that doesn't serve us. Imagine if, instead of reacting, you let the insult wash over you without letting it affect your inner peace. How would that change the dynamic? You would remain in control, while the other person's attempt to provoke you would fall flat. But how can you practice this in real life? The next time someone disrespects you, use a simple Stoic technique. Pause, take a deep breath, and count slowly to 10. During that pause, remind yourself that reacting with anger will not improve the situation. Instead, it will likely escalate it. You could also press your tongue to the roof of your mouth, a small physical gesture that can help calm your nervous system. It's important to note that Stoicism doesn't mean becoming passive or allowing others to walk all over you. Rather, it's about choosing your response with wisdom and maintaining your dignity. Sometimes, the best response is no response at all. At other times, a calm, measured reply is more powerful than any outburst could be. Think about this for a moment. How many conflicts could have been avoided in your life if you had chosen not to retaliate? How many situations would have been defused if you had remained calm? Reflect on those moments and consider how you can apply this Stoic wisdom the next time someone disrespects you. And speaking of reflecting on our responses, this brings us to another important Stoic lesson: understanding the true source of disrespect. 5. Consider the source of disrespect. When someone disrespects us, it's easy to take it personally, to believe that their words or actions are a direct reflection of our worth. But here's a critical question that Stoicism invites us to ask. Is their disrespect really about me? Or is it a reflection of their own pain, insecurities, or biases? Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, once said, "He who takes offense when no offense is intended is a fool. Yet he who takes offense when offense is intended is also a fool. For the wise man ignores insults." Stoicism encourages us to take a step back and consider the source of the disrespect. When someone insults or belittles you, their behavior is often more about them than it is about you. Are they acting out of their own frustrations, stress, or ignorance? Do they have unresolved issues that are distorting their perspective? Understanding this can help you let go of the offense more easily, realizing that the insult says little about your value and more about the person delivering it. Imagine you're working in customer service and a customer lashes out at you. Is their disrespect really about you? Likely not. Maybe they're stressed, overwhelmed, or dealing with personal issues. Stoicism reminds us that many people's reactions are a reflection of their inner turmoil, not an accurate judgment of who we are. Let me ask you, have you ever reacted poorly to someone not because of what they did, but because of something else you were dealing with at the time? Perhaps you were having a bad day, feeling overwhelmed or insecure, and you ended up taking it out on someone else. The same is often true for those who disrespect you. Once you recognize this, you can develop a sense of compassion, not for their actions, but for their suffering. Seneca also teaches us that our subjective judgments shape our reality. How we perceive the world and others is often colored by our own experiences, biases, and emotions. When someone disrespects you, it might simply be that their worldview and values are different from yours. This doesn't mean they're right or that you are wrong, it's simply a difference in perspective. So, how can you apply this in your own life? The next time someone disrespects you, pause and ask yourself, is this about me? Or is it more about them? Are they projecting their own issues onto me? If you can recognize that their disrespect is often not personal, it becomes much easier to let it roll off your back, maintaining your dignity and self-worth. And here's where the power of Stoicism comes into play. By considering the source of disrespect, you don't internalize it. You don't allow it to shake your inner peace or disturb your sense of self. You maintain your confidence, knowing that the disrespect of others does not define your value. Take a moment to reflect. Can you recall a time when someone's disrespect was more about them than about you? How did you react then, and how might you react differently now, with this Stoic perspective in mind? Now, if this lesson resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know how you've handled disrespect in the past. Have you been able to see beyond the insult to understand its source? Your experiences and reflections could inspire others who are watching this video. 6. Reflect on whether any criticism has validity. When faced with disrespect or criticism, most of us instinctively become defensive. It's natural to want to protect our ego, to dismiss the critique outright, especially when the delivery is harsh or unkind. But here's a question that Stoicism encourages you to ask yourself. Is there any truth to what's being said? The Stoic philosophers were never under the illusion that they were perfect. In fact, they embraced the idea that everyone, including themselves, has flaws. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself of his own shortcomings, using them as opportunities for self-improvement. He believed that we should always remain open to feedback, even when it is delivered disrespectfully. Consider this. When someone insults or mocks you, rather than reacting immediately, what if you took a step back and asked, "Is there any part of this criticism that I can learn from?" Yes, the delivery may be painful or rude, but could there be a lesson hidden within? The Stoics believed that even our enemies can be our teachers. Sometimes, the harshest feedback comes from those who are not concerned with sparing our feelings. But this type of feedback can often be the most honest. If we approach every insult or critique with the mindset of learning, we transform an otherwise negative experience into a chance for personal growth. Think about a time when someone insulted you or pointed out a flaw in you. In the heat of the moment, did you immediately dismiss their words? Or did you take a step back later to reflect? Maybe, just maybe, they had a point, however small. That could help you become a better version of yourself. This doesn't mean that all criticism is valid. Stoicism teaches us to be discerning. Not all feedback is worth internalizing. We need to carefully evaluate the source and the intention behind the criticism. Is the person offering feedback wise? Do they have your best interests at heart, or are they simply projecting their own issues onto you? When criticism is unjust or driven by malice, Stoicism reminds us to dismiss it. But when it holds some truth, however painful, it's a chance to improve ourselves. Take that criticism, separate the valid points from the emotional noise, and use it as a tool for self-betterment. Pause and ask yourself, how often do you dismiss criticism without truly reflecting on its validity? What if, instead, you approached each critique, even disrespectful ones, with the mindset of learning? How might this shift in perspective help you grow, both in your character and in your life? Reflecting on whether criticism has any validity doesn't just protect you from reactive anger. It empowers you to be a person who constantly strives for self-improvement. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Now, as we dive deeper into these Stoic principles, it's important to remember that disrespect is often an inevitable part of life. How we handle it, however, is what defines us. And sometimes the best way to rise above disrespect is to accept that we simply cannot please everyone. 7. Accept that you cannot please everyone. One of the most liberating lessons from Stoicism is the realization that no matter what you do, no matter how kind, skillful, or wise you are, some people will inevitably disrespect or dislike you. And this, the Stoics teach us, is entirely beyond your control. We live in a world where people have vastly different values, experiences, and perspectives. As a result, what one person admires in you, another might dismiss or even attack. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself of this truth, recognizing that trying to win universal approval was a futile pursuit. He wrote, "I cannot control the opinions of others, but I can control how I act." This is at the heart of Stoicism, focusing on what is within your control and letting go of the rest. Let me ask you, have you ever found yourself trying to win over someone who clearly doesn't respect or appreciate you? How much time and energy did you spend, only to be left frustrated when they remained critical or dismissive? This is a trap many of us fall into, thinking that if we just act a certain way or say the right thing, we can change someone's opinion of us. But Stoicism teaches us that this is not only exhausting, it's unnecessary. You don't need everyone's approval to live a fulfilling life. In fact, seeking validation from others often leads you away from your own values. Instead, the Stoics remind us to focus on living in alignment with our own principles, regardless of what others think. Reflect on this. When someone disrespects you, is it because of who you truly are, or is it more likely a reflection of their own preferences and biases? Perhaps their values clash with yours, or maybe they're simply in a different stage of life. Whatever the reason, their opinion of you does not diminish your worth. Consider the story of Socrates, one of the greatest philosophers in history. Despite his wisdom and integrity, he was sentenced to death by his own people. Could he have pleased everyone? Clearly not. But even in the face of this ultimate rejection, Socrates remained steadfast in his principles, accepting his fate with calmness and grace. He understood that his worth was not determined by public opinion, but by his adherence to virtue. This brings us to an essential Stoic practice: detachment from the opinions of others. Stoicism encourages us to reflect deeply on who we are and what we stand for. Once we are clear on our values and virtues, the opinions of others, whether positive or negative, become less significant. We are no longer swayed by their judgment. Does this mean we should never listen to feedback? Of course not. As we discussed earlier, it's wise to reflect on criticism and see if it holds any truth. But when disrespect stems from differences in values, tastes, or experiences, it's important to remember that not everyone will appreciate who you are, and that's perfectly fine. Let go of the need for universal approval. Instead, focus on being the best version of yourself, grounded in your own principles and values. When you live with integrity, the right people will respect and appreciate you for who you truly are, while others may not, and that's their prerogative. Take a moment to reflect. How much time and energy have you spent trying to win the approval of people who simply don't align with your values? What if, instead, you redirected that energy toward living in alignment with your own principles? Remember, the opinions of others are beyond your control, but how you live your life is entirely up to you. 8. Keep emotional distance from those who mistreat you. When someone insults or disrespects you, it's easy to feel hurt or offended. But Stoicism encourages us to take a step back and remind ourselves that their words or actions are a reflection of, think about it. How many times have you allowed someone's rude comments to consume your thoughts for hours or even days? You may replay the scene in your mind, feel angry, or try to come up with the perfect comeback that you didn't deliver in the moment. But in doing so, you're giving their words more power than they deserve. Now let me ask you this. What if you didn't take their words personally? What if, instead, you viewed their disrespect as a reflection of their own issues, perhaps their frustrations, insecurities, or a simple lack of understanding? What if you could emotionally distance yourself from their behavior, recognizing that it doesn't diminish your value? This is what Stoicism teaches. You are not defined by what others say or do. Their disrespect is a projection of their own inner turmoil and does not dictate your worth. Once you truly grasp this idea, you become untouchable in the face of insults. You stop allowing external events to disturb your internal peace. Imagine a scenario where someone speaks to you harshly. Instead of letting their words pierce your emotions, you remind yourself that their conduct is beyond your control. You stay calm, detached, and grounded in your own sense of self-worth. By keeping this emotional distance, you shield yourself from unnecessary suffering and maintain your composure. But how can we practice this in real life? When faced with disrespect, Remind yourself that the insult does not have the power to harm you unless you choose to be affected by it. You could even use a Stoic technique of mentally stepping back and observing the situation as though you were an outsider. Ask yourself, does this person's opinion truly define me? The Stoic way is not about being emotionless, but about having control over your emotions. You acknowledge the disrespect, but do not allow it to disturb your peace. This level of emotional mastery doesn't come overnight. It requires practice and reflection. But over time, you'll find that the more you cultivate emotional distance from those who mistreat you, the less power they hold over your inner state. Reflect on this. How often do you let others' disrespect dictate your emotions? What if you could maintain your sense of peace, no matter how others treat you? As Marcus Aurelius said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Keep your thoughts aligned with virtue, and external insults will lose their sting. And as we dive deeper into this practice of emotional mastery, let's move on to an equally vital lesson from Stoicism: maintaining your integrity and values, even when faced with disrespect. 9. Maintain your integrity and values. When you're insulted or mistreated, the temptation to respond in kind can be overwhelming. After all, it feels unjust when someone treats you unfairly, and your natural reaction might be to defend yourself by attacking back, gossiping about the person, or even seeking revenge. But ask yourself this: what would the Stoics do? For the Stoics, the answer is clear. No matter what others say or do, you must never betray your own principles. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, famously said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This means that if you allow someone else's behavior to provoke you into acting against your values, you've given away your inner freedom. So, what does it mean to maintain your integrity in the face of disrespect? It means staying true to your virtues: kindness, fairness, understanding, even when others don't reciprocate. When you hold on to your values, you remain in control of your actions, rather than allowing someone else's disrespectful behavior to dictate your response. Let's consider a situation where someone spreads rumors about you at work or among your social circle. It's easy to fall into the trap of retaliating by spreading rumors about them in return. But what happens when you do this? You compromise your integrity, and in the process, you become no different from the person who disrespected you. Instead of lowering yourself to their level, what if you held firm to your principles and refused to engage in gossip? Imagine how powerful that would be. Not only would you maintain your self-respect, but others would notice your strength of character. By responding with dignity and kindness, you demonstrate that your values are unshakable, regardless of how others treat you. But maintaining your integrity goes beyond simply avoiding retaliation. It's about embodying Stoic virtues in every aspect of your life. Whether you're dealing with disrespect at work, within your family, or even online, you have the opportunity to show who you truly are. Your actions should be a reflection of your inner wisdom, not a reaction to someone else's negativity. This doesn't mean you should be passive or accept mistreatment without speaking up. Stoicism encourages us to set clear boundaries and stand up for ourselves when necessary, but to do so in a way that is consistent with our values. For example, if someone insults you, you can calmly assert that their behavior is unacceptable without resorting to insults yourself. Epictetus reminds us, "Dare to look up to God and say, 'Make use of me for the future as thou wilt. I am of the same mind. I am one with thee.'" This quote speaks to the idea of aligning your actions with a higher purpose. When you maintain your integrity, you not only stay true to yourself, but you also contribute to something greater, a world where virtue prevails over pettiness and negativity. Think about the last time you were disrespected. How did you respond? Did you act in line with your values, or did you allow the other person's behavior to pull you into actions you later regretted? If you could go back, How might you handle the situation differently using Stoic principles? Maintaining your integrity in the face of disrespect is not just about protecting your reputation. It's about living a life of virtue. And as you practice this, you'll find that your self-respect and inner peace grow stronger with each experience. Now, before we move on to the next Stoic lesson, take a moment to reflect. Have you been able to stay true to your principles in the face of disrespect? If not, how can you practice aligning your actions with your values in the future? Your integrity is your most valuable asset. Guard it carefully. 10. Take the long view on life's ups and downs. When you're in the midst of being disrespected or mistreated, it can feel like the end of the world. The sting of an insult or the pain of betrayal can consume your thoughts, making it hard to see beyond the immediate moment. But the Stoics teach us to take a step back and view our lives with a broader perspective. In the grand scheme of things, how much will this moment of disrespect matter? Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to consider the bigger picture. He wrote, "Keep in mind how fast things pass by and are gone, those that are now and those to come." This practice of taking the long view is one of the most powerful tools Stoicism offers for handling life's challenges, including disrespect. When you zoom out and reflect on the impermanence of everything, including insults, conflicts, and slights, you realize that most of these moments are fleeting and insignificant. Think about this. 10 years from now, will you still be upset about the disrespect you experienced today? Will the person who insulted you even remember what they said? Most likely, the answer is no. Stoicism encourages us to keep this in mind, recognizing that the ups and downs of life are temporary. What matters more than any specific incident is how we respond to it. So the next time someone disrespects you, try this Stoic exercise. Pause and imagine yourself a year from now, looking back on this moment. How important does it seem? Chances are, it will feel much less significant with the passage of time. This shift in perspective allows you to respond with calmness and wisdom, rather than reacting impulsively in the heat of the moment. This Stoic principle doesn't just apply to disrespect. It's a way of navigating all of life's challenges. Whether you're facing a difficult relationship, a career setback, or personal struggles, the long view reminds you that this too shall pass. Stoicism teaches that life is full of ups and downs, and while we can't control what happens to us, we can control how we choose to interpret and respond to it. Reflect on this. What are some of the challenges or conflicts you've faced in the past that seemed overwhelming at the time, but now feel distant and insignificant? How did you handle those situations, and what did you learn from them? Could you have benefited from taking the long view in those moments? As we wrap up this Stoic lesson, remember, the key to mastering disrespect lies not in reacting to every slight, but in cultivating a sense of inner calm that transcends the moment. By taking the long view, you rise above the immediate emotions and embrace the Stoic wisdom that life's trials are temporary, while your virtue and integrity are eternal. 11. Be polite and professional, but stand up for yourself when necessary. While Stoicism teaches us the importance of remaining calm and composed in the face of disrespect, it doesn't mean that we should always stay silent or allow others to walk all over us. In fact, one of the key lessons from Stoicism is knowing when and how to stand up for yourself, politely, professionally, and with dignity. When someone disrespects you, your first reaction might be to either retaliate with harsh words or, alternatively, to suppress your feelings to keep the peace. But Stoicism offers us a third option, responding with calm assertiveness. Let me ask you, how often have you let disrespect slide, only to feel regret later for not speaking up? Or on the flip side, how often have you reacted too hastily, saying something you later wished you hadn't. The Stoics encourage us to stand firm in our values while remaining respectful and professional. If someone speaks to you in a way that is hurtful or unfair, it is entirely within your Stoic principles to calmly call out the behavior. You might say, "Please do not speak to me that way," or "I find those remarks unfair and hurtful." By addressing the issue directly and politely, you give the other person an opportunity to reflect and correct their behavior without escalating the conflict. But what if the disrespect continues? Stoicism teaches us that we have a responsibility to protect our own dignity and well-being. If someone's disrespectful behavior becomes a pattern, it's essential to set clear boundaries. In some cases, that might mean removing yourself from the situation, whether temporarily or permanently. This doesn't mean storming off in anger, but rather making a firm decision to limit your exposure to negativity. Marcus Aurelius advises us to act in accordance with our nature, which means maintaining integrity and fairness while not allowing others to undermine our dignity. Standing up for yourself doesn't mean being aggressive or rude. It means calmly asserting your boundaries and making it clear that you expect to be treated with respect. Imagine this scenario. You're in a meeting and a colleague makes a belittling comment. Instead of reacting defensively or letting it slide, you calmly state, "I don't appreciate that remark. Let's keep the discussion focused on the topic at hand." This kind of response not only protects your self-respect, but also sets a positive example for how to handle conflict with grace. There is immense power in standing up for yourself while maintaining your composure. When you respond politely but firmly, you demonstrate both strength and wisdom, showing that you value your dignity without resorting to anger or hostility. And as you continue practicing this Stoic principle, you'll find that it becomes easier to set boundaries in all areas of your life. Now, before we move to the next lesson, take a moment to reflect. How often have you either overreacted or underreacted to disrespect? What would change if you learned to stand up for yourself calmly, without letting emotions dictate your response? Stoicism empowers you to find this balance, and this brings us to an important realization, one that can often be hard to accept. You cannot force others to respect you. 12. Realize you cannot force others to respect you. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is the acceptance that we cannot control the actions or attitudes of others. This includes how others choose to treat us. No matter how respectful, kind, or principled you are, some people will still choose to disrespect you. And here's the Stoic truth: you cannot force anyone to respect you. Why is this realization so important? Because much of the frustration and anger we feel when disrespected comes from a desire to control how others perceive and treat us. We want them to acknowledge our worth, to show us the same courtesy we extend to them. But as the Stoics teach, trying to control the behavior of others is a futile pursuit that only leads to frustration. Epictetus famously said, "It is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them." In other words, it's not the disrespect itself that causes us distress. It's our belief that we can somehow make others respect us if we act or speak a certain way. But the reality is, respect, like all external things, is beyond our control. And once we accept this, we free ourselves from the need for others' approval. Let me ask you, have you ever found yourself bending over backward to win the respect of someone who simply didn't appreciate you? How much energy did you expend trying to change their opinion, only to be left feeling drained and frustrated? What if, instead of trying to win their respect, you focused on respecting yourself? Stoicism teaches us that true respect comes from within. When you live with integrity, guided by your values and principles, you gain self-respect. And that self-respect is far more valuable than any external validation you might seek from others. When you respect yourself, you no longer feel the need to force others to do the same. Of course, This doesn't mean that you shouldn't expect basic decency from others or set boundaries when they treat you poorly. But it does mean that you should not tie your self-worth to whether or not others show you respect. You cannot control their actions, but you can control how you respond to them and how you view yourself. Consider this. Imagine a situation where someone continues to disrespect you, no matter how politely or professionally you engage with them. In the past, you might have tried harder to win them over or prove yourself. But what if, instead, you chose to walk away from the situation with your dignity intact, knowing that their lack of respect doesn't define your worth? This is the Stoic way. Focus on living in accordance with your own principles and let go of the need for others' approval. When you do this, you become unshakable because your sense of self-worth is grounded in something far more stable, your own values and virtues. As Gandhi said, "I cannot teach you violence, as I do not believe in it. I can only teach you not to bow your heads before anyone, even at the cost of your life." This is the ultimate expression of Stoicism, standing tall in your own integrity, regardless of whether others show you the respect you deserve. Take a moment to reflect on this. How often have you tried to force someone to respect you? What if you stopped seeking their approval and instead focused on respecting yourself? How would that change your sense of peace and confidence? As we move forward, remember that living a life of integrity means accepting that not everyone will appreciate or respect you. And that's okay. Your true power lies in how you choose to act, not in how others respond to you. 13. Focus on the positives amidst disrespect. It's all too easy to fall into negativity when someone disrespects you. In those moments, you might find yourself replaying the incident over and over, dwelling on what they said or did, and letting it consume your thoughts. But here's the Stoic challenge. Can you shift your focus to the positives, even in the face of disrespect? Stoicism encourages us to view life with a balanced perspective. Yes, disrespect is painful, but if we only focus on the negative, we risk missing out on the many positive aspects of our lives. Marcus Aurelius advises us to dwell on the beauty of life, to focus on what is good rather than letting moments of disrespect dominate our thinking. Let me ask you this. The last time someone disrespected you, how long did you spend thinking about it? Did it overshadow the other, more positive aspects of your day? Stoicism teaches us that while we can acknowledge the sting of disrespect, we should also take stock of the things that bring us joy, fulfillment, and strength. One practical Stoic exercise is to create a mental or written list of the things you are grateful for, even in difficult times. When someone disrespects you, take a moment to reflect on the people in your life who do respect you. Think about your achievements, your personal strengths, and the qualities that make you proud of who you are. When you focus on these positives, the sting of disrespect becomes far less significant. Consider this. If someone at work undermines your ideas or speaks to you disrespectfully, how might your mood change if, instead of dwelling on their rudeness, you shifted your attention to a recent success you had? Or perhaps you remind yourself of the friends and family who support you unconditionally. When we broaden our perspective, disrespect loses its power to dominate our emotional landscape. But what about the person who disrespected you? Stoicism encourages us to take a balanced view of others as well. It's easy to see someone's flaws when they mistreat us, but rarely do we stop to consider their positive qualities. Maybe they were disrespectful in one instance, but are they entirely devoid of virtues? Are there areas in which they too possess admirable traits? By focusing on the positives in both yourself and others, you cultivate a mindset that is resilient in the face of disrespect. You don't deny the pain, but you don't let it consume you either. Stoicism reminds us that while we can't control how others treat us, we can control the narrative we choose to focus on. We can either let disrespect overshadow our thoughts, or we can choose to focus on the things that uplift us. Take a moment now to reflect. How often do you dwell on disrespectful encounters, allowing them to color your entire day? What would change if instead you made a conscious effort to focus on the positives, your strengths, your achievements, and the people who truly value you? This shift in focus can dramatically alter your mood and resilience. This practice leads us to one of the most powerful insights of Stoicism. Disrespect doesn't define you, your response to it does. As we move toward the next Stoic lesson, let this be your guiding thought. Life's challenges are inevitable, but how you choose to view them is entirely within your control. 14. Surround yourself with respectful, supportive people. The company we keep has a profound impact on our lives. Stoicism teaches us to be mindful of the people we surround ourselves with, because they influence not only our emotions, but also our actions, our mindset, and even our character. As Marcus Aurelius said, the soul is dyed with the color of its thoughts. If you're constantly around people who belittle you or disrespect you, how can you maintain a positive and resilient mindset? Let me ask you, who are the people you spend the most time with? Do they encourage you, respect you, and help you grow? Or do they drain your energy, belittle your ideas, and leave you feeling disrespected? Stoicism reminds us to evaluate our relationships carefully, for the people we surround ourselves with can either lift us up or pull us down. Imagine you're a ship navigating the rough seas of life. The people around you are like the crew members. If they are supportive, respectful, and aligned with your values, they help keep your ship steady, no matter how turbulent the waters get. But if they are disrespectful or negative, they create instability, causing you to veer off course. So, ask yourself, who is helping to steer your ship, and who might be throwing you off balance? Stoicism encourages us to fill our lives with people who resonate with our values, who challenge us to grow, and who treat us with the respect we deserve. This doesn't mean that we should cut off every person who disrespects us. After all, not every relationship is so easily dismissed, especially with family or colleagues. But it does mean that we should carefully manage our exposure to negative influences and seek out those who support us. In some cases, you may need to limit your interactions with certain individuals. If there are people in your life who consistently undermine your self-worth or treat you with disrespect, it may be time to reassess how much time and energy you devote to them. You don't have to cut them off entirely, but you can choose to spend less time with them, protecting your own emotional well-being. On the other hand, think about the people in your life who make you feel valued and respected. These are the relationships worth investing in. Stoicism teaches us that we should seek out friendships and partnerships that inspire us to be better, that nurture our growth and support our journey toward virtue. When you are surrounded by people who respect you, you are much more likely to maintain your inner peace and resilience, even in the face of disrespect from others. But what about those relationships you can't avoid, like difficult family members or co-workers? Stoicism advises us to engage with these individuals with patience and wisdom. You can't always remove toxic people from your life, but you can limit the impact they have on your emotional state. Set clear boundaries, manage your exposure, and focus on maintaining your inner composure when interacting with them. Let me ask you, how often do you feel drained after spending time with certain people? What if you could redirect your energy toward relationships that uplift and empower you? What would change in your life if you made a conscious effort to prioritize those who respect and support you? As you reflect on these questions, remember that you have the power to shape your environment. The people you surround yourself with can either strengthen your stoic resolve or weaken it. Choose wisely, and you'll find that your ability to handle disrespect grows stronger as well. 15. Take the long view on life's ups and downs. When we are in the midst of a difficult moment, whether it's an insult, a setback, or some other form of disrespect, it often feels like the world is collapsing around us. But one of the most powerful teachings of Stoicism is to take the long view, to step back and see life in its larger context. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the fleeting nature of all things, writing, "Keep in mind how fast things pass by and are gone, those that are now and those to come." When you're disrespected, it can feel personal and significant in the moment. But Stoicism teaches us to ask, how important will this be in a year? In 5 years? In 10 years? Let me ask you, the last time someone disrespected you, how long did the emotional pain last? Did it carry on for days or weeks? Or did it eventually fade away as you moved on with your life? Stoicism reminds us that time heals most wounds, and what seems devastating in the moment often becomes a distant memory as we continue on our journey. This perspective is crucial when dealing with disrespect. Instead of allowing one negative moment to dominate your emotions, you can take a step back and remind yourself of the bigger picture. Life is full of highs and lows, and no single event, no matter how hurtful, should define your overall experience. Stoicism encourages us to see the impermanence of all things, including the disrespect of others. Imagine someone insults you today. It hurts, and you feel a surge of anger or sadness. But instead of reacting impulsively, you pause. You remind yourself that this moment will pass, just like every other challenge you've faced in life. You've overcome hardships before, and you'll overcome this one too. In 10 years, this insult will likely be forgotten, just a small bump in the road of your life. This long-term perspective also helps us approach life's challenges with greater patience and understanding. If you know that this difficult moment will eventually pass, it becomes easier to respond with calm and composure rather than letting emotions dictate your actions. As Epictetus wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When you take the long view, you realize that your reactions shape your experience far more than the events themselves. Think back to a time when you were deeply hurt by someone's disrespect. Perhaps at the time it felt overwhelming. But now, looking back, how significant does it seem? Did you grow from that experience? Did it teach you something about yourself or about others? Stoicism encourages us to view every challenge, including disrespect, as an opportunity to strengthen our character and grow in wisdom. By taking the long view, you rise above the immediate sting of disrespect and anchor yourself in a deeper understanding of life's impermanence. This Stoic practice doesn't just help you handle individual moments of disrespect. It changes the way you navigate all of life's ups and downs. It reminds you that life is a journey, and no single moment defines your path. As we move toward the conclusion of this Stoic journey, reflect on this. How can you apply the long view in your own life? The next time you feel disrespected, pause and ask yourself, will this matter in a year? In 5 years? With this broader perspective, you'll find it easier to maintain your calm and dignity, no matter what life throws your way. We've now explored 15 powerful Stoic lessons that can help you navigate disrespect with wisdom, composure, and grace. From remaining calm in the heat of the moment, to focusing on what you can control, to surrounding yourself with supportive people and taking the long view. These Stoic principles are timeless tools that can guide you through life's inevitable challenges. But Stoicism isn't just about theory, it's about practice. The next time someone disrespects you, remember the wisdom you've gained here. Take a deep breath, pause before reacting, and reflect on how you can apply the Stoic principles you've learned. Can you remain calm? Can you focus on what you control? Can you see the bigger picture and let the disrespect slide off your back, knowing that it doesn't define you?